I am not so sure about our friendship anymore, my beloved child. Before you listen to another second of this message, I need you to understand something. What you are about to hear is not a simple story about friendship, and it is not something you should dismiss as an ordinary misunderstanding. Something changed last night. Something shifted quietly, almost invisibly, and yet the meaning of that moment may reach much deeper than you realize. If you found this message at exactly this point in your life, do not skip, because there is a reason these words are finding you now. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the final piece of this story may completely change the way you see a person you once trusted without hesitation. You thought you understood this friendship. You thought you knew what was being said when you were not in the room. You thought you could recognize loyalty by the way someone smiled at you, answered your messages, stood beside you, or remembered small details about your life. But last night revealed something that could not remain hidden forever. It was not necessarily a dramatic confrontation. There may not have been shouting, accusations, or some obvious moment that everyone could see. Sometimes the most important revelations arrive quietly. A pause that lasts too long. A message that suddenly disappears. A sentence that was never supposed to reach your ears. A name mentioned when it should not have been. A conversation that changes direction the instant you appear. These tiny details can feel meaningless until they begin forming a pattern. And last night, you may have witnessed one of those details. Perhaps you noticed a strange change in someone's behavior. Perhaps you received a message that felt different from every message before it. Perhaps you woke up with an unexplained feeling that something was wrong, even though you could not immediately explain why. Do not ignore that feeling too quickly. Stay till the end. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is a deeper question behind everything that happened. Was the friendship changing, or were you finally seeing it clearly? That question matters. It matters because sometimes we do not lose people when they change, sometimes we lose the version of them we believed was real. And that realization can hurt more than an argument ever could. Last night may have opened a door you were never planning to open yourself. Behind that door is information, emotion, and perhaps a truth you have been sensing for much longer than you admitted. You may have noticed that this person has been distant lately, but every time you questioned it, you found a reason to excuse it. They were busy. They were tired. They had their own problems. They needed space. You told yourself not to overthink. You chose understanding because you cared. But now something does not fit anymore. There is a missing piece, and tonight we are going to follow that missing piece carefully. So don't skip, because the first revelation is not about what they did. It is about why you were never meant to notice it until now. Here is where the story becomes more difficult to explain, because what happened last night may have started long before last night ever arrived. Think back to the moments when this friendship felt effortless. Remember the conversations that lasted for hours, the private jokes that only the two of you understood, the moments when you believed you could call this person at any time and they would understand without needing an explanation. That history is important because it makes the present situation harder to accept. When someone has been part of your life for a long time, your mind naturally protects the image you have built of them. You remember the good moments first. You remember when they helped you, when they encouraged you, when they made you laugh at exactly the moment you needed it. Those memories become evidence in your mind that the friendship must still be genuine. But people can change without announcing that they have changed. Circumstances can change. Priorities can change. Feelings can change. And sometimes the most painful part is realizing that you have been protecting a relationship that the other person may have already begun leaving behind. Last night, perhaps something happened that made that possibility impossible to ignore. Maybe you saw something you were never supposed to see. Maybe you heard something that sounded harmless at first but became unsettling when you thought about it later. Maybe someone behaved as though they knew something about you that you had only shared with one person. That is where the questions begin. How did they know? Who told them? Why did nobody mention it to you? And why did the person you trusted most suddenly become quiet when you asked? Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, and one of the biggest clues is hidden inside that silence. Silence can be louder than an explanation. A person who has nothing to hide may still become uncomfortable, but a sudden change in tone, timing, and behavior can reveal that there is a conversation happening somewhere beyond your view. Do not rush to accuse anyone. Do not turn uncertainty into certainty. Instead, watch the pattern. The truth does not always arrive through one giant confession. Sometimes it arrives through 5 small inconsistencies that finally become impossible to ignore. Perhaps you have noticed that your friend responds differently when certain people are around. Perhaps plans that once included you suddenly happen without you. Perhaps information reaches you only after everyone else already knows. Perhaps they have started treating you like someone they need rather than someone they value. These things can be subtle. But your heart notices patterns long before your mind is willing to name them. And that may be exactly why last night felt so different. You were not simply reacting to one event. You were reacting to every unexplained moment that came before it. Suddenly, old memories began looking different. A joke you once ignored now seemed strange. A cancelled plan now seemed suspicious. A delayed response now carried another meaning. A casual sentence from weeks ago suddenly sounded like a clue. This is why you must listen carefully. The story is not about becoming suspicious of everyone. It is about understanding the difference between imagination and intuition. One creates fear without evidence. The other asks you to look closer when something repeatedly refuses to make sense. Then came the moment you probably cannot stop replaying in your mind. Maybe it happened late at night, when everything was quieter and there were fewer distractions. Maybe you were simply checking something ordinary when you noticed a detail that changed everything. It could have been a notification, a conversation, a look, or even a sentence that was delivered with a completely different tone than expected. Whatever it was, your first reaction may have been confusion rather than anger. You might have thought, "Did I misunderstand that?" That is an important moment, because when someone we trust behaves unexpectedly, our first instinct is often to defend them before we defend ourselves. We search for explanations that make the situation comfortable again. We say they probably meant something else. We tell ourselves we are tired. We assume there must be a reasonable explanation. And sometimes there is. But sometimes the explanation only becomes more complicated when you ask another question. Why did this particular moment bother you so deeply? Why did your mind immediately connect it to other things that happened before? Why did you suddenly remember conversations you had forgotten? Why did your heart become heavy before you even knew what the evidence meant? Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. And the answer may not be what you expect. The shocking part is that the person involved may not even realize how much they revealed. People often believe they are hiding their intentions when their behavior is already speaking for them. A change in consistency can reveal more than a dramatic confession. Someone can say, "Everything is fine," while their actions quietly say the opposite. Someone can tell you that nothing has changed while making choices that prove something has changed. And that contradiction is where your attention should remain. Last night may have given you your first undeniable glimpse of that contradiction. Perhaps this person had been telling you one thing while doing something entirely different. Perhaps they had been assuring you that your friendship mattered while gradually creating distance. Perhaps they were protecting another relationship, another priority, or another decision from you. The exact reason may still be unclear, but the emotional impact is already real. You feel it because something you believed was stable suddenly became uncertain. And uncertainty is powerful. It can make you question not only another person but also your own judgment. You may begin wondering whether you imagined the closeness, whether you trusted too easily, or whether you missed warning signs that were obvious to everyone else. Stop there. Do not turn someone else's behavior into proof that you were foolish. Trusting someone is not a weakness. Caring is not a mistake. Being loyal does not make you naive. The fact that someone may have changed does not erase the sincerity you brought into the friendship. Your intentions were real even if their intentions became different. That distinction matters because the next revelation may explain why this situation feels so personal. You are not only afraid of losing a friend. You are afraid that the memories you shared may no longer.